Today's guest is Katie Malumbi, who is a certified health coach and mindset coach that is driven by the profound mission to guide others to discover their purpose and integrate it into their wellness journey. She's also the author of Purposeful Health, which is an Amazon bestseller. So, Katie, thank you very much for being on. How are you doing today?
Doing wonderful. It's a thrill to be here.
Love it. So, give us a little bit of background on, who you are and kind of how you got to doing what you're doing and sort of where you're at in your business. Just kind of catch us up to that, and then we can kind of take it from there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a certified health coach, certified with the Institute of Integrated Nutrition. I have a decade of social work experience. So that's really what sparked my passion for working with people in a social setting. I felt, I loved the being able to help people in that way. However, I felt limited in being able to help them further their health and wellness journey. And that's where I found health coaching, and that ignited the passion to support people in that way.
Love it. And then right now, Beza, you are at the stage where you are looking to build the business into like a full-time venture. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. Yes, I'm still working full time. I'm coaching on the side, growing that business. It's a lot to juggle, but I'm loving it.
Yeah. And to be fair, I mean, sometimes I'll have people that are in your situation come onto the podcast, or like, should I just quit and like, should I go into it, etc. Like, from somebody who hasn't taken my own advice, I very much celebrate you for doing it, quote unquote, the hard way, which is like, I'm working and then I'm doing this on the side and trying to figure it out. Yes, it's hard, but it's like a different hard. Like the hard of me, like when I was like, I'm just gonna quit and then we'll figure it out. That's a different kind of stress altogether. I'm trying to like scramble to make that happen. So I always tell people like to do exactly what you're doing if they're like in your position. So I celebrate you for that because it ultimately teaches you a lot of skills you're gonna have to learn, but you have the safety net of whatever your job is providing. And I think that gives you a firm footing from which to make much more powerful decisions. So just know that if there's a part of you like judges that, I think you're doing it the right way because it's ultimately going to be the more kind of like foundationally sound way going forward. So if you want to add anything to that, by all means, floor is yours for that.
That means a lot. It's hard because you hear all the time, just commit. You're not committing fully. And I feel like I am. I'm giving all of my any free time outside of my full-time job to this business. I'm clearly passionate about it. It's just that safety net. It's cost of living is very high today. I feel like my full-time job is enabling me to invest in my business and grow from there. And when I get to that point, it'll be clear to me, but it's not there yet.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd love to then dive in because obviously you are in all these roles where you support other people. So, you get to have the tables turned and somebody else gets to support you today. I know that in your submissions for kind of applying to be on here and all the stuff we've kind of talked about off air, a lot of your blocks are around people pleasing and then the visibility kind of blocks that come from that of, well, I've had real experiences with people have like actually hated on me for doing the things that I want to do, where I thought they were going to support me. And now the ripple effects of like, okay, well, how do I actually go about and sell and market and do all the things I know I need to do? So that's kind of how I've seen your block. So I'd love for you to just give any clarity or additional details to that, and we can kind of dive into it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I I acknowledge I have shown up as a people pleaser in my life, both professionally and interpersonal relationships. I genuinely care about helping people. That's kind of always just been what lights me up, is helping other people live a better life. I stepped into, you just hear be authentic and put yourself out there and everything's gonna work out wonderfully. So it took a long time to build up the courage to start doing that. And unfortunately, when I did, I saw my biggest fears actualized. I saw a lot of my supports, both family and friends and coworkers that I thought would wholeheartedly support me like I had them, turn their backs. Many of them unfollowed me, started like, it was like groups of them would just kind of all together kind of move away and stop acknowledging my existence. And smear campaigns. I mean, it's just been a lot of seeing the worst in people when I really genuinely, this business is all about trying to bring out the best in others. So it's been heartbreaking and a whole nother level of unexpected like growth and development personally. I didn't expect. I know that everything happens for a reason, and I know this is ultimately going to make me a stronger, better human being. But it's it was very unexpected.
Yeah, and I know that experience can be very jarring. And it's like more often than not, people fear that happening and kind of never does. And I know I was telling you this off air as well, but when it does happen, it's like a bomb like goes off because it's like literally your worst fears, coming to pass. And I gotta like deal with that. And when I have people pleasing clients or people that struggle with that pattern, it's showing up in either relationships or business. Generally, those are the two big ones where it does show up. One of the frames we usually take, and it was kind of retroactive because it's already happened for you, but when you have people pleasing patterns, essentially it's like walking around and expressing 60% of yourself. So generally, what I show to the world is 60% of who I am, because that 60% I've garnered that it's safe is going to make sure that everybody likes me, or to the degree that everybody can like me. And it's just like, I'm okay expressing 60%. In the 40% is where the suffering happens, because it's like, well, this is actually isn't the authentic me, right? And that's kind of the impetus to actually change. But the irony of that is the other side, they basically get into a 100% relationship with your 60%. So they have now gotten into a dynamic with you where they feel, well, your 60% that's showing is the 100% that I'm expecting. So this is very common when kind of like people always speak about, oh, like when I started this whole journey or I tried to level up, people were hating on me and I had to like leave them behind. Well, yes, that is true, but also the reality is like you change the dynamic of the relationship. So other people's reaction is actually, and some, like, I know it's not justified. Like if people are like maliciously doing things to you, that's not at all what I'm getting at. But it's like the negative reaction to you changing is fair because it's actually breaking the kind of invisible contract that they got into relationship with you. And it's triggering something in them. So that's why, the negative reaction is happening. Again, it's not an excuse, but it's generally what happens. But it's like that dynamic creates, once people pleasers start to step into their own power and, express 70, 80, 90, whatever percent, there's always going to be a very tumultuous transition period. And it seems like you have gone on or going through that. So before I go on, just what lands for you with that? Anything you want to add to that?
I love that perspective. I think that's extremely fair and um, something I'm still trying to grapple with. I feel like we live in a society where we try to say like celebrate people's growth and changes and being their authentic self. So to imagine like, being ostracized for that, it still doesn't sit right with me, but it does make sense that people see like I have been living a lie to them. I've been showing up as this like shell of a person, and here like where did this come from? Who does she think she is showing up like this now kind of thing. I understand that perspective. I thank you for sharing that perspective with me.
Yeah, you're very welcome. So the flip side of that is, okay, like I understand the other people's reactions, etc. Now, when they have their reaction's actually theirs. And what's often hard for people with the people pleasing patterns is, well, I have caused this reaction, therefore I'm somehow bad, and or because I've grown so much of my life where I kind of prioritize other people over myself, I believe the judgments to actually be more accurate than my own self. So, what is your, again, comments or reflections on that?
That's been one of the hardest things to like heal and work through on my own is what if what if all of the backlash and the ill treatment, what if it's justified? What if I am this fraud? It's basically amplified that imposter syndrome that we all experience in becoming a business owner and showing up in the world like this. It's um it's it's taken uh lot of inner work and self-reflection to really to acknowledge like, no, I know how I've been showing up in the world. And yes, I've been a people pleaser, but I've also been genuinely a good person, and that deserves to be reciprocated and respected. And um, ultimately good people that want to show up like genuinely helping others deserve to be treated the same way, and not used as a doormat or treated like a one-way street, or, you know, like there to support everyone else and not get anything back in return. So it's felt like this huge injustice in my life and a betrayal, because I know I have been showing up, treating others the way I want to be treated too, you know?
100%. And I fundamentally agree with you that you deserve to be treated with, all of the kindness that I know you fundamentally want to show and do show to other people.
Mhm.
The flip side of that, though, is you will only be treated to the level of the kindness that you hold a standard to. So when I reflect that back, what comes up for you?
Um, so basically I have to kind of walk my talk when it comes to respecting myself, um, showing up and what I tolerate in relationships too. You know, it's easy to say, well, if I just keep being kind to someone who's not being kind to me, eventually they're going to get it and they're going to start being kind to me. But like understanding, like I'm tolerating it. I'm still pouring into a cup that's showing me over and over again that they're not going to give back the kind of love and support I'm giving them. So I'm at fault there.
So, and I appreciate your not just openness, but the ability to kind of take it in and, okay, like let's see what my 50% of this is. And I fundamentally agree with you. And there's always an inverse relationship between tolerance and standards. So
Mhm.
the more BS that I'm willing to tolerate is actually reflective of very low standards for myself, right? That's
Sure.
why either when people change or when people have really high standards, they essentially say no to a lot of things. And then the backlash is, well, you're such an asshole. Maybe, or maybe I just don't tolerate the things that you are bringing. So this is very common with people that are naturally givers or have historically found safety and security through giving. It's, well, um, I treat everybody this way. The golden rule is you should treat everybody how you want to be treated. Therefore, I deserve and like ought to be treated this way, but I'm experiencing all these injustices. And while I don't agree with, people being hurt, fundamentally, there is like an anchoring in victimhood of that. Like, are you familiar with like Kapman's drama triangle? Is that something?
No. No, can
Okay.
you explain that?
Okay. So in the drama triangle, right, you've got obviously three sides. So one of the sides is the victim, and the
Yep.
victim always needs a perpetrator, right?
Yep.
And there's always needs a rescuer that can kind of throw heat at the perpetrator and or has a victim to save. So
Sure.
when your brain defaults to speaking in this way of like, I deserve this much and this is an injustice and I've been betrayed, yes, that is the consequences of that are all true. And it actually anchors you in the drama triangle in the role of the victim. Because if I'm constantly having injustices, I'm ignoring the 50% that I actually contribute, which is, well, I'm tolerating this much injustice and therefore allowing myself to actually exist as a victim, whereas I'm the one that's contributing to somebody that's clearly showing they're not on the same wavelength, right? I'm the one who's making excuses for other people's, like, all of those are things that take your power away and keep you in that victim role. And when it comes to the drama triangle, the only way out is to actually step out of it. You
Yep.
can't, perpetrate your way or rescue your way out of it. You just kind of move and shift into a different position. But it's fundamentally the way out of people pleasing is healing the parts that default to victimhood and
Yep.
then getting you to embody and practice more of your own power of whatever it means in specific situations that you have. So again, what lands with all of that?
Oh, that's brilliant. That's exactly, I feel like the last, basically since I opened my business, kind of that my journey. As much as I try not to associate myself as a victim, that's very much how I felt. Very betrayed, just done wrong by so many people I loved and admired and supported. And it's been a healing journey to understand that um even if I don't want to like identify as a victim in this dynamic, that's exactly where I am. And whether or not it's intentional by these people, that's where I stand in this relationship at this point, and I can't unsee it. So I've had to remove myself from several dynamics, relationships, friend circles, that I thought were staples in my life. And that has been again, another healing journey to move through. Learning like my self-worth is non-negotiable and stepping away, like even loving these people still, but loving them from afar and knowing that um like this dynamic is not one I can continue to be a part of the way it stands.
Absolutely. And I celebrate you for that because that is the way out of it. So if we zoom out a little bit now and it's just like, okay, well, I was kind of forced into the situation where I had to deal with this pattern in this particular context. Now I'm in this other situation where I have to intentionally go forward and build the business.
Mhm.
If you zoom out, knowing what you know about these patterns in yourself, like how are all of these affecting your business? How are they showing up day to day in your business?
Um, I feel like I'm nearing that other side of healing on it, but it's been a huge journey where I'm not projecting this victim mindset or this I've undergone this huge injustice kind of onto the rest of the world. I want to show up as someone that helps other people heal and bring out their best. So I'm not going to be very effective at that if I'm coming from that approach, right? So it's been that's another reason why it's felt like such an injustice. I've spent 10 years in social work, then put myself through health coaching certification, and then spent another few years preparing to open my business and expecting, to be welcomed with open arms, and instead felt like it was just another huge thing that I had to heal from. So while it's taken a lot of time, I feel like it's ultimately made me a better, more self-assured person, and really like I didn't really acknowledge the people pleasing patterns. I didn't really acknowledge how much of that I was burning myself out trying to please everyone else and asking people how they're doing and really trying to show up for them and really not getting much of that return in most of those relationships. So um it's ultimately been a blessing in disguise, but it didn't feel like that at the time. It felt very much the opposite, like a curse,
100%. I could definitely see how that would be the case. So in that instance, like that sounds like it's historic. Like this is what I had to go through and what I learned and kind of on the cusp end of that. So I'm more curious about, okay, well, if you bring it to the present, like
Mhm.
are these patterns affecting your current day business or like what's happening inside of your business right now? Because it seems like this is, let's just say, more or less resolved from
Sure.
how you're describing it.
That's fair. Yeah. I still feel a lot of anxiety trying to put myself out there authentically on social media or market myself in from the point of like trying to make new sales and bring on new clients. It's anxiety producing because I have seen those fears actualized. I have felt what it's like to be rejected by so many people I thought would be happy for me. So um, there's still a lot of anxiety and hesitation and really like overthinking when it comes to how to market myself, how to be effective at drawing in those right people, because I apparently I was doing a pretty horrible job at it, or just not, even triggering people enough to swarm away from me. So
Okay, got it. So overthinking because there's all this anxiety that I have with regards to being out there, being visible, marketing myself. It's an anxiety in sales. So fundamentally, kind of the behavior is one of like avoidance and hesitation.
yes.
Okay. So that avoidance and hesitation, I'm assuming, also leads to some type of procrastination on like doing the main things, which is getting sales like that. Would that be accurate?
Yes, procrastination, I'd say I dance kind of around the things that are those most anxiety producing. I, yeah, yeah. In that way, I squirt around the things that trigger that anxiety and fear.
Right. And in order for you to actually transition from your full-time job into coaching, like you need the actual sales and marketing to be in place. Is that like kind of like where you are at with that?
Absolutely. Yes, I need, I mean, that's crucial for growing my business and taking me to the next level at this point. Absolutely.
Okay. So then is, well, okay, I should look at it this way. So have you like invested in, like, let's just say the business coaching side of things where like you understand how all these pieces need to work together, you understand how to, craft your offer, your messaging, like all those pieces. Like, have you invested in those skills and built those skills?
I have. I'd say I still have a lot of room for growth. Really, I think the biggest barrier at this point is how to effectively use my time when I have such little good use, good time to use in my day. The majority
Hmm.
of my time still going to a full-time job. So I feel like I have to be extra concise and like clear about how I'm using that time. And a lot of times you can just start on one thing and get very sidetracked. And all of a sudden your whole night's gone on something that was very insignificant when it comes to the whole like growing your business aspect. So
Right. So my time and my resources are very limited in terms of what I can like give to this dream.
yeah,
The main thing that I have to give to this dream right now is marketing and sales.
yeah,
And that's where I have the biggest anxiety. So then even the limited time I have, I end up spending doing frivolous things or getting lost in like minutia instead of the 1 to 2 things that kind of need to get done to move this forward.
absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Got it. So if we kind of flip the script a little bit, like where would you ultimately want to be? Like, well, what is the ideal case scenario for you?
Yeah. The ideal case scenario is um, I have a couple of forms of passive income with my business. I'm working right now on developing a course and a program. Both of those are in progress, but they would enable me to have working with clients, but passively. So they would buy my program, go through it on their own. I might do a session or two with them in that, but it wouldn't be one-on-one sessions like I'm doing right now, which is my full attention and time and a lot of follow-up work after. So trying to have more passive forms of income with my business and then have that be built up enough where I can sustain a living off of that and be able to quit my full-time job and give all of my best time and energy into my business.
Got it. And I mean, obviously you don't have to use specifics, but just so I kind of can gauge where you're at, like what percentage are you away from them? I'm like 50% close to that. I'm 25% of the way there. I'm 75% of the way there. Like where would you say you're at with
Yeah,
that?
I'd say I'm a little over 50%. I mean, my business itself is in a good place, but building the course and the program, those are still like 25% complete. So the rest of my business is doing well, but those need a lot of work still.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, that's just a time thing of like I have to just build out this course and curriculum. So, you know, I get that. It's not an easy thing to do, but you're saying the business is good. So define good because right, like we kind of started this whole thing saying, well, I want to actually like quit, but then the business is good. So I just want to, I'm curious, what is your definition of good in that case?
Sure. Yeah, I feel like I have a good foundation is where I would
Okay.
say there, yeah, I would say there's definitely room for growth. I have a lot of room to take on more clients. So I'm not where I want to be there, but I'd say fundamentally and like from a foundation level, I feel like I have a really good base to grow from. So,
Right.
um,
So in terms of like how you can actually get results for clients, the fulfillment side of things, my ability to coach them through it, that part
yes,
is good. The part that's lacking then, okay, is the completion of the curriculum and then also the marketing and sales piece.
yes, very,
Okay.
very accurate.
Got it. Okay. So then, based off everything we've talked about, what do you think are the biggest blocks to getting basically the business to a point where you can't quit your job?
Yeah. Um, well, from a personal standpoint, it's still just working on overcoming a lot of that fear and anxiety that I've been working on. It's slowly but surely, I'm making progress there, but still a lot of room for improvement there. And then again, just getting more defined and clear on how to utilize the little time I have so I can effectively complete these courses. And ideally I'd like to have a weekly structure where every day of the week I just know Mondays are my media day. Tuesdays I'm um doing follow-up work, just very clear on every day of the week. I know exactly what I'm doing and there's no guesswork in that. So I'm not spinning my wheels or wasting my time and energy on useless tasks that are getting me nowhere.
Yeah. So part of it is like I know what I need to focus on and have like a general cadence on what it is that I need to do to move this forward tactically.
Yeah.
And then even if I had that plan, because right now it seems like the fear and the anxiety get in the way of the effective execution of that. Like, is that accurate for you? Okay, it is.
That's accurate. Yes.
Okay, so tell me more. How does that manifest for you day to day?
Um, well, I'm not consistent with marketing myself or posting on social media, and it's that fear that gets in the way there. I've had the negative results. I've seen close friends unfollow me, not acknowledge me. So I've it's it's been difficult to continue to just put on a brave face and continue to do it regardless. I I'm at that point where I'm still doing it. I'm charging ahead, but it's not the consistency, not the clear marketing strategy that I want because I'm getting in my own way with um seeing those negative results. It's like PTSD almost feeling like I've
Mhm.
I've put myself out there. I've been really proud of some of the ways I've marketed myself and gotten really negative results or even like unfollowed from friends and support that has left me really just like over analyzing, questioning everything I'm doing, not confident in the approach I'm doing, even though genuinely like I've been happy with the results before I put it out there.
Yeah. So there's like the judgment that comes as soon as I'm supposed to press, publish. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got it. Okay. So it almost seems because you mentioned I have to put on a brave face to do this. So like right now, your strategy through getting through this is really, can I white knuckle my way like with courage to like get through this? Is that accurate?
That's fair. Yeah.
Okay. Is that a sustainable strategy for you going forward?
It's not, I would say it's gotten me to where I am and it's overcome a lot of obstacles and it's helped me on my journey and my healing path, but it's not sustainable. I mean, I keep hitting walls and just kind of running into them. It feels like rather than strategically moving around them.
Yeah. So can you imagine, or is there a part of you that can imagine marketing being like as fun for you as coaching?
I think so. I love being creative and expressing myself, putting myself out there. It's a vulnerability, but it's empowering too. I feel like it's liberating. It's really the results that I've had and the negative feedback, the negative reaction from the people in my life that I expected to be happy and supportive. That's really led to this like over analyzing and just like spinning my wheels and overthinking everything and really almost feeling like I have to play it safe in order to win people's approval rather than just trying to put myself out there authentically.
Okay. So I have to play it safe to win other people's approval. So it seems like that's one of the operating beliefs
Yeah,
that you currently step into. So it's basically subconsciously you're playing to be liked, not to be effective in the marketing, which is supposed to move people towards, you know, doing the thing they need to do with you to transform.
right.
So if your marketing requires you to be effective, requires you to matter to the people that need you, but subconsciously everything is rooted in optimizing for being liked and being safe and not ruffling feathers. Do you see how that is going to create an internal environment where the only way I can get through it is if I white knuckle my way forward for each post?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's quite the dichotomy. I feel like I was initially trying to be authentic, putting myself out there, and it was not met with positive feedback or results. So now I feel like I'm trying to tap into the minds of those who have rejected me or given me the, you know, the negative feedback, and that's led to a whole other um just like spinning my wheels, going nowhere, trying to tap the brains of these people. Like, why did they reject me? What, maybe if I did this, they would like this, and people pleasing again to a degree, but it's from a marketing standpoint.
Yeah. So right now your past is basically sabotaging your present.
Absolutely.
Okay. So there's parts of you that haven't let go of that traumatic experience and are
Yeah,
basically distorting everything you're trying to do right now.
absolutely. Yeah. As much as I mean, it no longer hurts the same way, but it's definitely getting in my way of showing up how I want to and marketing myself the way I want to. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's a very important distinction where so you go through a wounding, right? Emotional or physical. The first thing
Yep.
that happens is the wound heals.
Yep.
Okay, which is great. And that's kind of like, because you mentioned multiple times, like I've gone through, there's been a lot of healing from it, and I've like done the work, and there's a part of me that's thankful for it. So it's like, okay, the wounding was there, and then the wound healed. And it seems like you're on the cusp end of that. But now, when
Mhm.
you've had a traumatic experience, and you've even mentioned like this feels like PTSD, well, then your nervous system is like, I don't want to go back to the place where the wound happened, which is now a totally different set of troubles that you got to deal with. And it seems like right now, the event itself doesn't hurt anymore. I've done what I needed to do to process that. But I have not been able to create safety. I've not been able to create security. I've not been able to let go of how these patterns are now triggered when it comes to putting myself in a situation where I'm vulnerable again. Is that accurate for you?
Very accurate. Absolutely. I'm still going around with armor on. You know.
Yeah. Well, armor, but I think your armor is more of the turtling type,
Yes. Yep.
right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
will play small. I will like avoid. I will not say the thing. I will not post. I will spend a lot of time overthinking. It will like all of that is the emotional equivalent of turtling
Yes.
while I have very limited resources in order to actually like execute on the things I need to do.
Yep.
Okay,
Absolutely.
perfect. So, to what degree is this something that's like new, or you're hearing it for the first time, or you're hearing it a different way, or I've known all of this? Like, just on that spectrum, like, where are you at with all these reflections?
Um, well, I think you're bringing up a lot of really good points and showing me that as much as I've done a lot of the healing work and in a place where it's no longer like triggering, that it's still inhibiting me from heading forward in the direction and the way that I want to show up for my business and in this world. So it's still very much a barrier, more than I'm giving it credit at this point.
Yeah, 100%. Because it seems like it's been years or months. Like, I don't know the specifics, but it seems like it's been a
Yeah,
while.
10 years. Yep.
Okay, it's been years, right? So, like,
Yep.
at this point, like, if this happened last week, I'd be like, yeah, you know what? You're in it. I get it. But if it's been years, now it's just a pattern of repeating the same thing. Right.
That's
Okay.
very fair. Absolutely.
So, in that case, like, where would you be? Who would you be if you weren't basically held back by the past?
Um, I feel like I would be further down my path. I feel like I would be a little more shameless in how I'm putting myself out there, a little more unapologetic. I feel like I would probably have a bigger clientele at this point, further down my path, like further in the direction that I want to be as far as my business goals.
Hmm. And who do you think you have to become to step into that?
Someone who is genuinely shameless and unapologetic and um, still me, but has taken those lessons and put them in my back pocket and kept charging forward.
Yeah. And I think the key word there is genuine, because I think you spent years white knuckling your way through every single post, and
Yep,
you've seen how it's like, I think you've extracted how far that strategy can take you. Because if it could have taken you further, I don't think you would have spent years being more or less in the same place.
right.
So it's like you wrote a book, you know what I mean? Like writing a book, regardless of how it sells, but the fact that you have something written, published out there, it's just like that is a tremendous amount of work, tremendous amount of knowledge that has to go into something like that while holding a full-time job, while trying to build. This is like the work ethic isn't the issue here. Like you can clearly juggle and hold a lot and do a lot. But I think it's just like energetically, mentally, emotionally, the
Yep,
path that I'm going is likely going to be more of the same because that's what history has shown. And right now, unless I'm able to get rid of the chains from the past, it's going to be very hard to change the future. Does that resonate
absolutely.
with you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. As much as, you can do therapy, you can do the work, you can do healing. But you have to break the old patterns. You have to march forward with a new perspective and not carry those burdens on your back with you everywhere you're going.
Correct. And I think the distinction there is you have done that for the wounding. Where
Hmm.
I think it's still missing is not just in the getting out there portion that we talked about, like the
Yeah,
anxiety of the sales and the marketing, but it's really for the first time, I think, in your life when it comes to this type of things, it's like, what does it look like for me to step into my own full power? Because like the things you mentioned were essentially all power related. Genuinely be more shameless, genuinely be more unapologetic, like own the value that I provide, own where I want to be in the world. I think
yeah,
that part was probably missing, not just in this instance of wounding, but probably historically as a people loser. Like it's usually the power that's missing from that victim portion of the um like a drama triangle, right? So does
absolutely.
that sound accurate to you?
Absolutely. Owning my power rather than trying to prove my power,
Correct.
yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful. So as much as I wish I could heal all these patterns for you on air in one session, unfortunately I can't. I just want to be respectful for time as well. But in terms of like helping you map out, what your biggest blocks are now, etc., like does this feel complete for you, or is there still something left outstanding?
Well, I mean, I would love to continue this conversation. It's been extremely helpful, but it does shed light on a lot of ways that regardless of what I've gone through and all the work I've come to, done to overcome this, that I still have a lot of work to do to really leave the past where it was and not carry it with me going forward.
Yeah, love it. So in that case, I'd love for you to close us off and basically practice your own visibility here. You can let everybody know where to find you, who's the best person to find you. Floor is yours for that.
Wonderful. Yeah. My name's Katie Malumbi again, author of Purposeful Health. That's available on Amazon. My website is purposefulpath.health.com, and you can find me on Instagram. I'm Purposeful Katie and Purposeful Health underscore or Purposeful Path underscore health on Instagram and on Facebook at Purposeful Katie.
Awesome. Well, Katie, thank you very much for agreeing to be seen in this way. And as always, we'll include all that in the show notes. Yeah. So thank you. And for everybody else listening, We'll see you on the next one.
It's been an honor, Drasco. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome.